If you have been Googling and asking ChatGPT for tips on anger management and anger management techniques, and how do I be less reactive, and how do I not snap at my partner, how do I be less rageful in traffic, this is for you. I know you've tried the breathing. I know that you have tried writing down your list of resentments. I know you've tried just calming yourself down. But if you're the kind of person who walks around with a lot of pressure inside and anger seems to be something that comes up for you a lot, let's talk about a somatic perspective of anger, because most of the people that I work with are actually big sweetie pies. Under that surface of anger, underneath that layer of protection, underneath that fight response, there is a sensitive being inside that has been feeling a lot for a really long time, that probably needed some protection and has learned how to support themselves by keeping people at a distance. So, I am very well versed in anger. Anger has been one of my go-to nervous system responses for a very long time. So I know this from the inside out. Let's talk about 3 somatic ideas of anger. So 1, anger is a boundary signal. It's not a personality flaw. The purpose of anger is to tell you when something has crossed a line, when something has violated a boundary, whether it's within yourself, whether it's your body boundary, whether it's your values, something that's really, really important to you. Anger pops up when something has crossed a line, and it lets you know this is where the line is. Because sometimes it feels like we're being reactive and angry for no real reason. But when you've been carrying a fight response for a long time, you start to see everything as a threat. Everything that anybody says, or any challenge, or any person that zooms by you in traffic, it's actually felt as a threat. And if you think about anger, right? If you think about a fight response, it happens when we're threatened, when we feel that we're in danger in some way. And you might have heard this before, that anger is like a secondary emotion, like a cover emotion, and that there's something more real underneath. I think that's true in some ways, that anger actually tells us this is what's really important to us. There's something really tender here, a little part of us that is actually really hurting, or a part of us that feels really wronged or betrayed and is acting out to protect ourselves. So fundamentally, our anger is a nervous system response. But I know that when you carry this around with you for a long time, and it is not only turned out into the world, but also turned back in towards yourself, it can be exhausting to carry anger, because you probably don't see yourself as being somebody who wants to be reactive or wants to treat people in a negative way. Some of the angriest people that I've ever worked with are the biggest teddy bears, and they just want to show love. And it's actually really beautiful to see when they can start to do that. It kind of brings me to my second point. Anger, we conflate it with violence, and this can be cultural. There are some people who are allowed to be angry and some people who aren't allowed to be angry. When you grow up with a really angry parent, and maybe there's some level of violence, so then you grow up thinking that anger equals violence. And so of course you would suppress that inside of yourself. Of course you would see anger as not being safe. Of course you would push it down until you explode. or you would not want to get in touch with your anger because you don't want to be an unsafe person. You don't want to be like your parent. That's one of the ways that we end up relating to this energy inside of ourselves as something that's dangerous because we've been conditioned that way. But there's a toxic anger, the one that we throw at other people, that we use with violence, that we turn towards ourselves and berate ourselves and put ourselves down constantly and gather so much pressure inside that the frustration just hurts us on a day-to-day basis. Toxic anger. But anger doesn't have to equal violence. It is something that says, these are my limits. This is the line. This is what I believe in, right? And you're watching me express with my body a boundary, a voice, something that's important. Anger is one of the things inside of us that mobilizes us towards what is most important, that gives us the energy and the strength and the power to do something when necessary, to set a boundary, to speak our truth, to protect somebody or something or ourselves. And in that, we actually need anger. We need this part of us. But you can kind of see the catch-22, right? That if anytime you express anger, it's perceived as violence, or you've only ever seen anger and violence together, you're not going to trust that inside of yourself. You're not going to know how to work with it. You're probably going to say something like, I just want to be positive. I don't want to be angry. I just want to be positive, and I just want to be nice, but I don't know how to have boundaries, and I feel a lot of resentment and frustration inside. Number 3, anger is not a character flaw. It is not an identity. But when you have felt it for so long, when you have expressed with it for so long, you say things that you wish you could take back. People start to see you that way, and you start to see yourself that way. This angry part of yourself becomes something that you're so blended with and so used to expressing from that you can't quite separate it from who you really are, who you know yourself to be underneath of that. And if you stay tuned for the next video, it's going to be a practice on how you can work with anger and feel it in your body, so you can work with this intelligently and intentionally. Okay? So anger is not a character flaw, it is something that you can work with. And when you can change your mind about it a little bit, see it as not automatically equaling violence, then you can work with your anger. You can allow it to arise inside of you, and you can work with it. And you'll find over time that it doesn't show up as strongly. You can connect with other parts of you. And that part that needed to be protected, it knows it's safe. It knows you can set a boundary if necessary. Okay, next video, a practice or two, and how to feel anger in your body.